We're going to riff for approximately, are we starting already? Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Video number
Oh.
Video number one. Go ahead. Why don't you introduce what we're doing here? Kind of a roundtable discussion. I guess I'll introduce it. Go ahead, introduce it. That's good. It's a good start. Okay. We're going to attempt to do a video discussion about various issues affecting the Jewish world and I guess you can say the young parent world, and just kind of.
If this was Facebook Live, we could take Q&As also.
We could also do that. So could be also we'll be playing with the format of it, depending on the audience, how many thousands and millions of people wind up seeing this.
We definitely have a Jewish outreach component that we overlap in, and Jewish education.
Yep.
And those are our two passions, I would say, that we share.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Okay. Let's dive in.
So, can we talk about diving in and why that's become such a common phrase, and it just drives me insane. And I would never. Everyone says that, and I feel it's like nails on chalkboard to me. I'm trying to figure out why that is.
I think because you don't like diving into things, you prefer to think things through and research.
Oh, so you're saying it's that's funny. So you're saying it's like a psychological contradiction in
I
my
think
mind.
so.
Interesting. That's you already got. I already got my money worth. Okay, so
I love diving in on that.
That's good. So okay. So the Jewish world, you were saying, is very slow getting into the technology game.
I would say that the religious Jewish world has a tendency to be behind the curve when it comes to like technology and a lot of different things that are introduced, probably radio and, well, radio's technology, but whatever that variation is.
Right.
But when there is a medium that's powerful, I think that the religious world eventually jumps on board.
Okay, and therefore, so what?
I think it would be interesting to see if we could kind of like look at what's going on right now, like in the digital world, and decide, is this something that if people's attention is there, for example, Facebook, people's attention is on Facebook right now. That is like clear. So if we can get past the fact that Facebook has some content in it that's not appropriate, and we have to be careful of being to engage with that, if that's where the audience is, we need to meet them where they are.
Is that what the problem is? Is that people are like concerned about not modest things on Facebook? Is that like what the concern is?
I think so. What do you think the concern is?
I think the concern is just that people don't know what it is. I think that the Jewish world has a hard time adopting to modern ways of relating. You saw in the Reform movement was doing so well for so many years, and then finally it wasn't until Rav Hirsch came along. I forgot. Probably, I'm going to get in trouble for this because it's wrong, but it's probably about 100 years after the Reform movement got going and finally provided the proper alternative to the lifestyle. And if you look at what's been going on, like, we're very slow at adopting, because to a certain extent we sort of get in our groove, the things that drive Jewish people away from Judaism, they pop up much quicker, and it takes us a very long time to get on top of it.
Okay.
And so I don't think it's necessarily the modesty issue. I think, could be it is, but I think much more than that. I think there's a certain, I guess it's a good thing that because most of us aren't living in the world at the same speed that everybody else is, maybe it takes us time to really load up the moral content. I think this is interesting. Are people bored by that though? Is that a boring idea?
I don't even understand what you're saying, to be honest.
Basically like this, the Torah, it takes time to figure out what's being said and then try to figure out what's the Jewish response to it.
Okay.
And I think that as a result makes it very hard to be cutting edge, but rather that we're following behind and then adopting whatever the current thing is being said, trying to adopt to that after kind of it's already moved on.
Yeah, I would say that the religious Jewish world has been incredibly overwhelmed by the lack of modesty that's on the internet and the engagement that sometimes happens between the religious people and the immodest content, and what that does to relationships and all the demise of relationships from that.
Is that unique to, I guess the internet proliferates it?
And that is like, I want to say that's the number one fear for religious Jewish people.
Really?
I think so.
I'm so surprised.
You're raising children. What would your number one fear be? That they are going to meet unsavory characters who are going to like lure them into some terrible trap, right?
No.
What's your fear as a parent with the internet?
That they're going to waste their brain cells watching stupid stuff. I mean, I guess
okay.
I
so
am.
It's the same as the television.
I guess so. I guess I do. want to monitor the material they're watching. But one of the things that I'll probably pay for this, that I wrote about in my book is how detrimental I felt that learning about the Holocaust when I was too young was for me. So I think that, call it, I don't know, I'm going to sound really, coarse and disgusting here, maybe because I didn't grow up religious, but like, I saw all of that stuff when I was really young, and I don't know, and this is pre-internet, so I think that if you think you're going to shelter your kids, not you, if we think we can completely shelter the kids, I don't think that's possible. Could be that the internet makes it, more simple, but I think that if there's not that value system in the home, I think that they're going to find it no matter what.
Even if there's a value system in the home, they're going to find it no matter what, because kids are curious. If there was Holocaust content on the internet and your parents seem to want to protect you from it, that's going to be the first place you're going to go to on the internet. Whether it be Holocaust content or any other kind of content that your parents seem to be nervous about, that's just like the nature of a child, right?
Well, I guess so. I guess that my biggest concern when it comes to the internet is time wasted and I think that the taking a person out of having to actively use their brain and have to just like kind of get stuff put into their brain. I think that's the biggest negative effect that the internet has today. I don't think it's the modesty thing. I think that's there, but unfortunately, I feel like that's just so much a part of. Again, it's not the internet. It's Snapchat. It's all of these other mediums that. I don't know. It's a hard issue to think about. I think now the way that the internet's. I mean, this is probably not going to ever be published because this is far too gritty.
Yeah.
But I think the reality is that now there's not like a bank of negative things to go and access. I think what's becoming is that people are just accessing stuff to each other, and the social barrier has come down. I think that's the real world that you should be worried about for your children. Is not they're going to go see a negative website, but it's that some girl's going to send them a picture of herself and she's going to be from, and that's just the reality. Is because you can take the phone with you anywhere, and that's where the world has gone. So I don't, again, I don't know if that. So how do you fight that? Because Snapchat is totally clean because it's all just the content that you yourself are putting out and being exposed to. It's not like there's the big bad person that's going to expose you to something. No, it's the world that you live in, and it's the way that people are interacting. I think that's the fear of the internet, the fear of Facebook is that rather there's a way just to stop living your life and live other people's lives. I think that's the concern of the internet from my perspective.
Okay, so to what degree would you like insulate your kids and shelter them and protect them, and what degree are you going to say, you know what, it's not going to work? We don't live in an insular enough community that we're going to be able to protect them from things. We just have to give them the education that they need to be successful in this big, world.
I'm all about that. I'm really all about that very strongly to the other side. I mean, it's very scary because I know that eventually someone's going to have to pay the piper that at least what I've heard, the children that grow up in a very religiously insular environment,